It is Friday, June the 12th of 2020. And number one, happy birthday to my son Peter. Bears the heck out of him. And this afternoon, request from Carl Madden of the Mac and Forth podcast, who I'll be recording with on Sunday. It's story time right here on Guy's Daily Drive. And here we are today. It is the end of the day of a Friday. So let's get excited about the weekend. Oh wait, not a whole lot to get excited about. But it is story time. As I said, Carl Madden has requested from me a story that happened while I was in London. Now, for those of you who don't know, I spent a significant part of the 1980s doing a lot of traveling for various reasons that I'm not going to talk about. But I spent a lot of time overseas, and one of my favorite places to go was England, London in particular. As a matter of fact, my wife and I, we had our honeymoon. You know, some people go to Jamaica, and some people go to Hawaii. You know, we went to London, then various other areas around London, around England. Had a wonderful time. But that was later. Maybe I'll tell those stories another time. The story that I'm going to tell you today about England occurred, I want to say, 1988. Right around Christmas time. We had a short trip planned just for 3 weeks. It was myself and two other guys, and we were in London, and then we also went to Dublin, Ireland. And as a matter of fact, the girl I was dating, her Christmas present that year, I brought her over from the States, and we spent a week kind of tooling around Dublin. That was also another story. But so it was right around Christmas time. It was cold. And there was a pub that we used to go to right off of Baker Street behind this department store, big department store called Selfridges. The name of the pub, ironically, was Macy's. And on Friday nights, they would have like a happy hour, and you would get a pint and a half for the price of a pint. So we would go there and be there from like 6 to 8, have a couple of beers, and we decided from where we were to walk down to Piccadilly Circus. Now, the person that I was with, his name was Bob. Bob was a very large individual, both in height and stature. And he was like my height. I'm 6'6". He was like 6'5", 6'6", something like that. Outweighed me easily. But we, after a couple of beers at Macy's, we walked down to Piccadilly Circus. And Bob liked to prank on people or groups of people, as it turns out in this particular occasion, because when we got to Piccadilly Circus, along with the usual punk rockers and guys walking around with mohawks and people performing for tourists and all the rest of that, there was a church choir singing Christmas carols. It was very nice. Well, Bob decided he wanted to sing Christmas carols with them. So he walks up. They had this like cascading stand set up with like 3 or 4 rows. So, you know, the bottom row You're standing on the street. The next row, you're on a little stand. Row above that, and it would keep going back like that. So Bob walks up to this choir while they're singing. I don't even know what they were singing. Some Christmas carol. And he walks all the way to the back where he's like towering over everyone that's there. And I'm thinking we're going to get arrested. But Bob led a charmed life. He goes all the way to the top. And they never stopped singing while he was doing this. But you could tell that they were nervous. And that it was kind of putting them off their game just a little bit. So he walks all the way to the top and kind of leans in to this guy that's standing next to him so that he can see the music sheet with the words to the carol that they were singing. And he starts singing with the choir. And eventually, they kind of relaxed a little bit. I don't know what they thought he was doing. They could tell he wasn't from the UK, that he was just this goofy guy. And then they stopped with the first song. And as soon as they stopped, Bob started yelling at the top of his voice, "We want jingle bells! We want jingle bells!" And the guy that was running the choir ignored him. And they went on to the next song in the program, whatever that was. Bob dutifully stood there and sang that song with them. And as soon as that song was over, he started yelling again, "We want jingle bells! We want jingle bells!" And finally, the choir director, this went through a couple different songs. Finally, by like the third or fourth song, he just stopped everybody and looked at Bob and said, "All right, jingle bells for the Yank." It was obvious that he knew that we were Americans, which wasn't really a huge surprise. So then they started singing Jingle Bells, and Bob was delighted, just happy as a lark that they were singing Jingle Bells just for him. And they got done singing Jingle Bells, and Bob walked off of the stand that he was on and thanked the choir director, and we went on our way. So strange, but Bob had a good time. I'm hoping that the people watching while they were singing was having a good time. Hopefully the choir was having a good time. I certainly enjoyed myself. But that wasn't the only thing that happened while we were there. There's a very famous bar, discotheque, I don't even know what you want to call it, called the Hippodrome there in London. And we didn't really know anything about it other than that it was a famous place to go and get drinks and listen to loud music and see pretty girls, hopefully, and all the rest of that. So that sounded like a win. So we go out and we get to the Hippodrome. We pay whatever the fee is to get inside. As I recall, it was pretty steep. And we go in and we sit down at this table. And our waitress comes over. And it was very, very obvious. Now, you have to remember, this is, mid-late 90s. And you just didn't see it that much. And the person who came to take our drinks was most assuredly a man in drag, dressed in women's clothes. And, we didn't make any fuss about it, but, he had a really deep voice. And he's wearing, like a cocktail dress, and it's low cut and all the rest of that. And he still has chest hair and an Adam's apple. And I mean, it was just very, very odd thing to see when, you go into a place expecting to see one thing. And then you see something completely different, and it kind of throws you off your game. So that was like the second odd thing that happened. Bob and I were walking around one night, and Bob was always a very jovial man. And there was a woman that was standing in a doorway at a hairdresser's. As we passed by this woman, Bob looks over and he's like, "Hey, like your hair." For whatever reason why he would say that. And she just kind of looked him up and down and said, piss off, Yank." So we keep going. I mean, we didn't do anything. We keep going down the street looking at each other, and in very exaggerated tones, we're like, piss off, piss off, piss off, piss off, Yank, piss off. Oh, man. Well, those are the things that I can think of off the top of my head. Now, I went to London many times. One of my brothers was stationed at Lakenheath Air Force Base, which is, I don't really know where it is, but it's outside of London. And there were a couple of times when I went there, I would visit him and his family. And he has 2 daughters, my nieces. So they were, how old were they? I think they were both of age, past the age of 18. And they had friends in school that they were going to while they were there. And they invited me to go out with them one night. Uncle Guy, to go out with them one night. So we go. And we walk in this pub. And it was obvious that there were, besides my 2 nieces, there were like 1 or 2 other girls and like 3 guys. And it was obvious as soon as I walked in. I mean, I just like completely towered over these guys. And I can, without really meaning to, I can be a somewhat threatening force. And it's never like I want to be. It's just I'm just so damn big that people who don't know me are sometimes intimidated. Not everybody, thank God. But we go to this pub, and as soon as we walk in, the girls are fine with it, but the guys were all very, very quiet for the entire time that I was there. It was obvious that they were trying to scope out what kind of Uncle Guy was. Was I the jovial, ha-ha, let's all have a wonderful time kind of uncle? Or was I the come near my nieces and you will rue the day that you were born kind of uncle? I don't know if they ever quite figured it out while I was there. That's all the stories I have for now, for today. Thank you all so very, very much for watching and or listening, live or not, to Guy's Daily Drive. I deeply, deeply appreciate the fact that you have taken the time to do so. If you would like to contact me, my email address is guy@mymac.com. I have 2 Twitter accounts, twitter.com/MacParrot, twitter.com/VertShark. If you would like to see all of the stuff that I do, audio and video, you can go on over to vertshark.com. It is all up there. And it goes way, way back, a couple of years now. If you'd like to help support the things that I do, you can go to Patreon, patreon.com/, damn it, one of these is now VertShark, and I can't remember which one it is. I think it's the coffee one is VertShark, so that'd be ko-fi.com/VertShark, patreon.com/MacParrot, paypal.me/MacParrot. Those are all the ways you can help support the things that I do. Don't have to. There's going to start being some exclusive content to people who support me over on Patreon, and if I can figure out how to do it over Coffee as well. But almost everything else I do is going to be available for free, and it's going to stay that way. So thank you all again so very, very much. I appreciate the fact that you are here. And I will see you, hold on a second, turn the corner. I will see you all next time right here on Guy's Daily Drive. Bye-bye.